So what next? That's a really great question. I think what's clear is change is inevitable. From all the speakers today, it's fast-paced is what's also very clear. We as leaders have to think differently. That message has been sent over and over again. And I'm going to use an example. So my background is accounting. I'm a bean counter. And I worked for 10 years counting beans, and during that process I charged my time. So I was valued based on how much time I charged and how productive I was. Over 80%, I had a smiley face. Under 80%, sad face. A very different world to the world I work in now. And that's how my brain works. I think of every minute as has a dollar attached to it. It's ingrained in me. I was asked to speak today, and tongue-in-cheek as it was, when I talk about thinking differently, I ask the question, how much will you pay me? Because as CEOs of organisations and leaders, we have to start to put a return on investment in our organisations. We have to say we're valuable. We have to say we're leaders. And we have to ask, because our time is valuable and the work we do is valuable. It impacts on so many people in the community. So one vision, and we'll talk about NDIS, but we talk about one human services model as well. It's clear, it's happening. It's about providing a quality, cost-efficient, effective service for the people in our community. It's about being price competitive. And it's about ensuring and maximising that every dollar we have goes to service delivery. That's a shift. It's a pretty big shift for all of us. So what are the challenges? I could probably stand up here and break down the detail of those challenges, map out how you transition and how you transform. But that's what this support and this sector development program's here to do. But I wanted to talk honestly and openly about the challenges we all face. I think in its most basic sense, the current economy and the ACT environment, highest average earnings, Commonwealth government job cuts, we've all got to accept that that's happening right now. It's a big change in our contract requirements. So I explain this to my board of directors, and they get it quite clearly because their risk has increased. Previously, $6 million of revenue, half Commonwealth, half ACT. 3 years, recurrent, paid in advance. Cash flow's easy, secure revenue, everything's there. Our contracts didn't require us to be businesses. They simply didn't. They required us to put people first and report on outputs. The new world requires us a unique challenge, and that is to balance a human service community model, because that doesn't go away, we're about people, with a business model, reporting on outputs and outcomes for people. That wasn't ever expected before. So those things have changed. So actually, funnily enough, 5 years ago today, I took the job as CEO of Koomarri. And at that week I said, so what's the data? So if we're going to start to plan this organisation and work out who we are and what we're doing, what does the market look like? What do our customers want? There's no easily accessible, clear data. So in the business world, you work out the scope of your market, what it looks like, do we have a place in it? Do our services have a place in it? It's hard to do when there isn't the data to support that. Gillian spoke about that collation and collection and getting it right. That's a challenge for us, because it's about where we target our efforts and how we ensure people are at the centre of those. So the other thing is the right people, the right workforce that also has an ACT context, highest average earnings, competing with Commonwealth and government. So how do we make sure that we have the right skills in our leadership, the right workforce to underpin that with a clear direction? When in lots of ways, the pay that we've had in the past and the history of our organisations is built on passion, but built on a low wage. I don't think I need to go on. That paints a pretty large picture of the challenges we face. We have a very big road ahead of us. But there's one more thing for me, and that is the speed and the magnitude of the change. For different areas, it's different. What we know is, in the disability sector, I could probably put on days or months or... So it's significant. So I talk about these in the context and go, bang, got a new workforce, excellent. Know how to be a business, great. Everyone's on board. It doesn't work like that. Buy an old 1950s house and you want it to be energy efficient, you've got to spend some money. You've got to get the right people. It's a real challenge. If you're purpose-built, you've already got all those things. You're facing the right direction, you've got double glazed windows, it's already there. So we do have challenges, and time and expectation is one of them. What stands out is the people we support also are part of this. Actually, they're the whole reason why we're here. So they have to be built in as part of this change and ensure that no one's put at risk. So how do we do it? Great question. I'm going to use an example because I walked over, thought I'll run you through a better practice business model of how you transition and run you through the 7 steps. Everyone has a couple of different steps. But that's not what it's about. It's about a really large understanding of what it means for us as leaders. In 2012, Koomarri undertook a review in preparedness for being a better practice organisation with the NDIS in mind. Wow. I submitted it to my board of directors and they said, game on. I said, yeah, wow. I'm not sure we're even sustainable in the long term. Want to know why? We're a non-diversified, medium-sized, specialist disability service provider. We don't have a fundraising. We don't have different arms of our business that reduce the risk and exposure. We run 4 businesses that employ 182 people that aren't sustainable without government funding. Ooh, good. Glad I bought the 1950s house and we've got to do some work. So we began our map. We began our 3-year strategy to moving to being a better practice model. The gaps that we had were pretty clear. You've heard a lot about them today. The first was we didn't really understand our market. We didn't really understand our customers. In fact, our model meant people rocked up. We said, oh, we've got a gap. We've got a space. We can support you. Or we don't. Sorry. 2, hi, how you going? What can I do for you? That change is significant. What can I do for you? Which is fantastic, but is a different way of thinking. We couldn't and can't compete on price because of our size, because our overheads, maintaining our quality standards, maintaining the appropriate workforce standards, simply don't allow us to compete. I look in the trial sites, I see a price released, I say, Ooh, good. How does our model need to look? We didn't have the right organisational structures, the right skills in our house, because it feels like my house, to do this. We just don't. We haven't invested in our workforce because actually we're a not-for-profit. When we make a surplus, it goes back. We don't have the cash reserves to invest because actually our whole model was built on a different thought. We don't have the business systems that I had when I worked in an accounting firm. Client management systems, timesheets, reporting, efficient and effective systems to make sure that every dollar we had goes to service delivery. We didn't have that because it wasn't seen as a priority. So that magnitude of that shift in 2 years, just putting it out there, it's a big shift. I know that this is the right move for organisations such as ours because when I came in to this role, I was naive. I was that kid who said, game on, my background, what I do know is through reviewing our processes, systems and everything else, we can do this better, more hours of service delivery. Do you know what? I didn't understand the people part. I simply didn't. I couldn't grasp it. 5 years later, that's a core part being built into our transformation. That person-first approach means we will never compete with a business model that doesn't put people first because part of our cost goes to making sure people come first. It's built in our strategy. It's built on how I report to the board. So when we talk about values, David spoke about values being built in, they're built into our business rules. Have I learnt a lot? Yes. We're in year 2 of our transformation. An example, previously I used to get my hair done and coloured every 8 weeks. Now it's grey on the sides and up here. I go every 6 weeks. Puts more money. It's like my budget's larger now. It's been significant, but it's been fantastic. In the last 6 months, we've seen some great outcomes for the people we support because we're thinking differently. I'm not saying we've got it right. I'm not saying we've got it perfect. Actually, in fact, the next 12 months for us is make or break. It is make or break. And I believe in it. I'm committed to doing it, and I'm committed to the 270 people we support getting a better service. So, what do I want to leave everyone with? Change isn't inevitable. We need to embrace it. We need to put the people we support at the centre of it. We need to maximise the opportunities we're getting through this community sector development program because we don't have those resources in-house sometimes. We don't have those dollars. And every dollar given there means more dollars in our service. The people we have in our organisation, the skills, the leadership, without that we've got nothing. I think the challenge for us as we head in and we have new competitors come into the market is balancing the human services approach with a business model because they're not separate. We're not choosing to be businesses now. If we want to succeed and make sure no one falls through the gaps and more service goes to more people, then we have to put them together. And that's not a simple business model. We as organisations in this sector have to work together. In fact, Minister Barr mentioned that some people won't make it. That's true. We have to partner. We have to think about how we can do things better, and that may mean that we complement each other's services. It may mean that the areas we worked in before, someone else does really well. That's okay. And maybe we work better together on those things. My accounting brain says, and it's cheaper, which means more service hours. That's how we've got to think. Mr. Barr spoke about that gap. It becomes our responsibility. If we're efficient and effective, we'll never be able to fill the gap, but at least we can make sure people aren't at risk. Have a clear picture of who your organisation is. What are you good at? Are you a generalist? I use this example and I think my staff are sick of it. Are you a takeaway who does pizzas, hamburgers, everything else, or are you a gourmet pizza provider and you understand who your market is, what they like, what they don't like, and can you do it and produce it, package it the way they want to see it? Know who you are, because at outset, if you don't know that, it's a real challenge. Are you a specialist? Are you a generalist? I don't really want to talk too much more today other than say the positive change for individuals we support is a real opportunity and we should take it, but we should talk to each other and work together. Thank you.